Adrian Newey does not issue warnings lightly, and that is precisely why his comments surrounding Aston Martin's 2026 project should be taken seriously, and a designer with more championship-winning cars than anyone in Formula One history openly highlights structural weaknesses. It is not pessimism, it is diagnosis. Newey's concern is not about ambition, funding or personnel. It is about readiness, and in a regulation reset as severe as 2026, readiness is everything. The 2026 rules are not simply a new chapter. They are a complete rewrite of how Formula One cars are conceived. Active aerodynamics, radically altered energy deployment, fully sustainable fuels, and a near-equal split between electric and combustion power fundamentally change the relationship between chassis, power unit, and software. Newey understands that under these conditions, any weakness in simulation, correlation, or integration will be exposed brutally once the cars hit real track conditions. Aston Martin's project looks formidable on the surface. New factory, new wind tunnel, new simulator, Honda factory power, and now Adrian Newey himself leading the entire operation. Yet Newey's own words reveal a deeper truth. Tools are not the same as mastery. Infrastructure alone does not guarantee performance. The ability to translate data into correct decisions repeatedly and under pressure is what separates contenders from pretenders. Simulation has become the central nervous system of modern Formula One. Under cost cap restrictions, teams cannot rely on brute force development. Every upgrade must be validated virtually before it ever reaches carbon fiber. When Newey described Aston Martin's simulation tools as weak, he was not criticizing hardware, but confidence. Weak simulation means uncertainty, and uncertainty under a regulation reset is lethal. The reaction from Aston Martin was immediate, which is encouraging. The recruitment of Giles Wood, a proven expert in simulation and modeling, and the consultancy role given to Marco Finlo, a key figure from Ferrari's Schuer-era dominance, signal recognition of the problem. But systems do not mature overnight. Correlation between simulator, wind tunnel, and track is built over seasons, not months. That time pressure is real. Lance Stroll's admission that Aston Martin do not yet have all the tools to be a top team is unusually candid for a modern Formula One driver. It confirms that internally expectations are being managed carefully, that honesty aligns perfectly with Newey's philosophy, does not chase hype. He chases fundamentals, and right now, those fundamentals are still under construction. Honda's role in this equation adds both opportunity and risk. As a factory partner, Honda offers Aston Martin total integration freedom. Packaging, cooling, battery placement, and energy recovery can be optimized as a single system rather than compromised around a customer engine. That is a massive advantage on paper, but it also removes the safety net. There is no reference point, no fallback. Koji Watanabe's comments underline how challenging this program truly is. Developing a compact 350 kW electric motor, a lightweight high-density battery, and a Downs is combustion engine simultaneously is an enormous engineering challenge. Honda are pushing technological boundaries on multiple fronts at once. Some solutions work, others fail unexpectedly. That volatility is normal at this stage, but it introduces risk. The most revealing detail is that Honda still needs more time. Homologation deadlines are approaching, yet development is still ongoing. Once specifications are frozen, flexibility disappears. If compromises are baked into the initial architecture, performance recovery becomes incremental rather than transformational. That is why early integration with Aston Martin's chassis philosophy is critical. Adrian Newey's designs historically operate on extremely tight margins. Cooling is optimized aggressively, Aerodynamic surfaces are sensitive to small changes. Energy deployment characteristics influence car balance more than ever in 2026. Honda must not only deliver power but deliver it in a way that complements Neweys' aerodynamic intent. Alignment is difficult, especially when both sides are still learning. Andy Cowell's role becomes pivotal here. His background in power unit excellence makes him the natural bridge between Honda's engineering priorities and Aston Martin's chassis demands. Fuel and lubricant development with Aramco and Valvoline adds another layer of complexity, but also potential performance upside. Combustion efficiency will matter more than raw horsepower under sustainable fuel regulations. Fernando Alonso's presence raises the stakes further. Alonso is exquisitely sensitive to car behavior under braking and rotation. The 2026 cars will harvest more energy under braking than ever before, fundamentally altering pedal feel and stability. If energy recovery characteristics fluctuate unpredictably, driver confidence will evaporate quickly regardless of theoretical performance. There is also historical context that cannot be ignored. Alonso's previous experience with Honda at McLaren casts a long shadow. This partnership is structurally different, but Formula One is an emotional sport. Early reliability issues or performance deficits will revive old narratives instantly. Honda are under immense pressure to demonstrate credibility from the very first tests. Aston Martin's development timeline is ambitious. Honda will unveil its power unit before pre-season testing, while the AMR 26 will appear just days before the first on-track running. That leaves minimal margin for public reassurance. Everything rests on internal confidence and data accuracy. That is where Newey's warning about tools becomes so relevant. The FIA Duo mechanism offers some protection for manufacturers who fall behind, but relying on regulatory relief is never ideal. The teams that dominate new eras are those that establish conceptual clarity early, even if raw performance is not immediately spectacular. Chasing lost ground under cost caps is far harder than refining a solid baseline. Honda are not in trouble in the simplistic way that headlines often suggest. What they are experiencing is the reality that every manufacturer faces on the eve of a major regulation reset. Compressed timelines, parallel development streams, and critical decisions being taken before complete information exists, that is not failure, it is exposure. The true variable is not whether Honda encounter difficulties, but whether Aston Martin's internal structure is capable of absorbing that uncertainty without panic and converting it into progress faster than their rivals. This is where Adrian Newey's intervention becomes so important. His warning is not an alarm bell, it is a control mechanism. By publicly tempering expectations, he is shielding the project from the kind of external pressure that forces teams into reactive decisions. Newey understands better than anyone that perception inside Formula One feeds behavior. When expectations run ahead of reality, teams start chasing validation instead of solutions. Lowering the temperature now is a deliberate attempt to preserve clarity when the first setbacks inevitably arrive. The most dangerous outcome for Aston Martin is not beginning the 2026 season a few tenths off the pace. That is survivable. History shows the teams can recover from performance deficits with disciplined development. What is far harder to fix is conceptual confusion. When departments pull in different directions, when simulation disagrees with track data, when power unit characteristics do not align with aerodynamic intent, progress stalls. Newey's focus on fixing tools, processes, and correlation before chasing lap time is a direct response to that risk. Honda's commitment to the project remains unmistakable. They are investing heavily, working relentlessly, and showing a willingness to adapt their power unit philosophy to suit Aston Martin's chassis vision. That flexibility matters enormously under the 2026 rules. Integration between energy deployment, braking behavior, and aerodynamic balance will define competitiveness. But commitment alone does not guarantee success. The decisive factor will be how quickly Honda and Aston Martin learn together once real-world data replaces simulation assumptions. Under these regulations, development speed will outweigh launch position. The teams that win championships will not be those who look strongest in the first test, but those who converge fastest on the correct solutions once weaknesses are exposed. That is why Honda's current challenges should be viewed as part of the learning curve rather than a verdict on their competitiveness. The real test begins when the cars run. The data arrives and decisions must be made without hesitation. This is why the warning matters so much. Adrian Newey is not questioning ambition, funding, or talent. He is highlighting fragility during transition, and in a sport where regulation changes reset hierarchies overnight, transition phases are where projects either harden or fracture. Under being in trouble is less about deficiency and more about operating at the edge of technical possibility under unprecedented constraints. If Aston Martin and Honda emerge from this phase aligned in philosophy, processes, and decision-making, the project could become genuinely dangerous by the latter part of the regulation cycle, not spectacular overnight, but relentlessly competitive as understanding deepens. If that alignment fails to materialize, however, no level of investment or reputation will compensate for lost coherence. Looking ahead to 2026, Aston Martin appear to be positioning themselves not as instant title favorites, but as a team building for sustained competitiveness. May frustrate fans expecting immediate miracles, but it is a far healthier approach. In my view, Aston Martin's season will be defined less by where they start and more by how quickly they improve. If Newey's discipline holds, Honda's learning accelerates and internal systems mature as planned. Aston Martin could finish 2026 far stronger than they begin it. In modern Formula One, championships are no longer won by bold promises, dramatic launches, or early headlines. Won by organizations that adapt faster than everyone else. Right now, Adrian Newey's warning suggests that learning speed, not optimism, will ultimately decide Aston Martin's fate in 2026.